With us once again from the Mt.Gravatt lanes in Brisbane for the last of our quarterfinals in the Coca-Cola Tenpin Classic. And with us, as always, our expert commentator, former Victorian and Tasmanian State coach Glenn McFarlane. Today we have our big scorer for the tournament, Carl Bottomley, up against our top seed. We're seeing him for the first time, Scott Sadler. Do you think Carl's game will be able to nullify Scott's?
Well, we'll have to see, Bill. Carl has fought his way through the tournament. So far, in it, he's averaging 252, which is a phenomenal performance. But then Scott is seeded number one. As you say, it's our first look at Scott. To get to that number one position, he averaged 233 in the seeding tournament. It's going to be another great match.
Looks like it could be a high-scoring game. Let's have a closer look at both the players. Carl Bottomley has bowled a perfect 300 game on 7 occasions. He's won the Cool Foam Classic 3 times and is a regular Australian team representative. Carl topped off a fantastic 1996 with 3rd place in the World Cup.
It's got to be treated as just another day at the office. Every day you walk into a centre, you've just got to treat every day as a new day and take things one step at a time. I've done reasonably well in the past, but not exceptionally well, and I'd like to walk out at least feeling I bowled as well as I possibly could.
Carl Bottomley has rewritten the record books on his way to the quarterfinals.
See? She does.
There we go. Now it's all over. He defeated Cara Honeychurch and Anne-Marie Putney to be here today and has recorded both the highest score and the highest average for the series today.
Bowling so well at the moment, Carl Bottomley.
His opponent today is Scott Sadler from New South Wales. Scott represented Australia in the World Cup last November and has already represented his state and country on many occasions. Scott is the number one seed for the tournament.
Last year it was pretty nerve-wracking, sort of being on there for the first time, so this year hopefully I'll calm the nerves down. I was also on TV in the Philippines this year as well, in a step ladder over there, so I've got a bit more experience, not as much as a lot of other people here, but I'm a bit more confident this year.
And a hot game today in more ways than in one. We've got Scott Sadler, the emergence on our top seed, and he's up against Carl Bottomley, who thrilled us a few weeks ago with 11 strikes from 12 balls. So he really is in hot form, and Scott obviously as well. Glenn, coming into this quarterfinal.
Well, that's true, but as we know, the format of the Coke Classic, one game, if you lose, you're out. It doesn't matter whether you're the top seed or not.
Carl Bottomley, 28-year-old. Regent's Park in Queensland to open the first frame. And he's almost open, but the strike, as we saw him do a few weeks ago, has left the one pin standing. Sue Castle also joins us in commentary today, the New South Wales captain, Aussie team member. Nice to have you with us again, Sue. What's your prediction for this one?
You know I don't predict. We've got 2 young, very, very capable bowlers here. I'm just looking forward to such a great match. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic.
And a nice solid start for Carl Bottomley. Closes out with a spare in the opening frame. Carl with a current league average of 200. Scott Sadler, we're seeing him for the first time here in the Coca-Cola Classic in this series, has a league average of 206. That one's swinging around very nicely, but very similar shot to what Carl opened with.
Yeah, that's right, Bill. Today you'll see with our 2 players, with Carl and Scott, they both like to swing the ball. You'll see on the replay coming up here. Nice, solid at the foul line, good leverage. You're going to see a lot of pins fly today.
Man, Scott, no trouble at all to close that one out. So an identical start from both these players in this cutthroat quarterfinal. Don't forget, $3,000 cash on offer for the winner of the Coke Classic, and that all expenses paid trip to the High Roller International Roll-Off in Las Vegas. $1 million tournament. First prize there would be very, very handy in the hip pocket, let me assure you of that.
Come ball.
Call the ball. There's the strike, and he's had a great strike, and gave that one so much flick with his wrist, I think he's broken his watch. As you see that the balls go down on the split screen replay.
All right, we know that Carl is in fine form. In fact, to get to this stage of the tournament, he's averaging 252, would you believe, for his wins.
Yes, phenomenal performance. We've Really marvelled at him on that hot day with the 11 strikes. Let's see if he can get on a run today. Well,
Still was a solid shot. It was a good shot.
Yeah, both of these players sort of playing a similar shot to each other. Carl sort of getting it down earlier on the lane. Just follows through. Nothing really went near it, unfortunately.
also keeping an eye out today for a cool foam magic moment. It's that that moment in the match, the shot or the frame that wins the game. $1,000 to the player at the end of the Classic, who provides us with our magic moment. Carl Bottomley closing out the spare in the second frame. So very tight contest.
Well, he's made 2 good shots so far for 2 9 counts, both 9 spares, and we'll see what he does up next. But Carl certainly renowned for shooting high scores and, of course, picking up many, many titles along the way.
He's a 5 times Australian representative, 7 perfect games under his belt. Won the Cool Foam Classic in 1997. Here he's starting the third frame. Whoa, they're all down. They're all in the pit, and maybe this is going to be the start of the roll for Carl Bottomley.
Well, that could just be the confidence booster that he needs. I mean, as we said, he's bowling well, but you'll see on the replay coming up here, a bit of a late fall. He gets away with the strike.
Yeah, maybe the ball was a little bit slower on that one, I felt.
Well, there's
again the infamous leave of the 2-10 split, which we're seeing so often left by these guys that use the reactive balls and throw such really big hook shots.
Sue, on that shot, Scott really did throw a huge shot. It went sailing out to the gutter and came back.
And takes the safety of the 1 pin. We're going to take a short break. Don't go away. We'll be back soon. Bank officer from Port Macquarie, New South Wales. Start of the 4th frame. Well, he's left a single pin again.
And, of course, this young man last November represented Australia at the Bowling World Cup in Egypt. Scott finished 13 in the men's division, which is a quite incredible performance. Now, Sue, we've mentioned in some of our earlier shows about the way the finals were played at the World Cup in Egypt outdoors.
Outdoors wouldn't have been spectacular to see. Apparently, they had pyramids and the Sphinx in the backdrop.
background.
Yeah, unbelievable. Playing outside, I think the sand might have played a little bit of havoc with the conditions that they would have had to endure out there, and especially the heat as well.
Well, today we have a different kind of heat. We'll see how Carl Bottomley from Queensland can equip himself on this shot. At the moment, he leads by 10.
Come on, Carl. Come on.
Strike for Carl Bottomley. Slips a little bit further ahead in this cutthroat quarter-final.
He's looking good, looking very good.
That was a great shot by there. That was a great shot by Carl. It's interesting enough, both of these players have represented Australia at the World Cup. We've got Scott represented Australia in Egypt, and Carl represented Australia in the World Cup in Ireland in 1996.
Come on, Carl. Sit there.
Oh, there they all go again. So, a double for Carl Bottomley.
And you'll see on the replay here, Carl getting the ball out. He was just
So
trying it to hold its line, and it did.
That's fantastic. 3 strikes in a row now. Scott's down by 30. He knows what he's got to do. He's got to start something going now.
So I was going to say a treble. I dudded him a strike there. We won't want to do that. And there's another one. So we're having a bit of a surge at the moment on strikes.
So very little difference with that shot from Scott on our right-hand lane on the championship pair to the last time he was up there when he left a split. Solid in the pocket this
just
time.
seems to come back a little bit harder. It's interesting. These two gentlemen both play very, very similar styles, but we can see that Scott's actually playing a wider shot, actually throwing it out further to the right and letting it come back harder, whereas Carl is maybe playing a little bit tighter than what he normally would.
Skid there. Speed up.
Okay, we heard it then from Scott then. He felt that he actually bowled the ball a little bit too slow. He was hoping that it would skid rather than hook into the pocket. But he's left fourth in up there, which is relatively easy spare.
Puts it away in the back of the pitch in what is his second Coke Classic, Scott Sadler.
And Carl Bottomley from Queensland leads by 30 pins now as he approaches his sixth frame in this match. And of course, we're looking for our Cool Foam Classic moment, that pivotal or that turning point in a match that just could earn one of our players here in the Classic $1,000 cash at the end of the series.
And we see Carl taking his time there. I mean, it is very hot out there under the lights, and the last thing he wants is to have the ball slip off his hand at the point of release. So he's taking his time, getting his composure, and he's about to try for his fourth strike in a row.
Prayers have been answered. He said, please, there it is, 4 in a row. Maybe this is the start of that big streak of strikes.
Well, who knows, Bill, if he could close it out at the moment, he'd finish with a potential 279 game.
Well, we'll see after the break. From Regent's Park in Queensland, has taken a bit of a stranglehold. He's moved out to a 40-pin lead in the Cutthroat quarterfinal, the last of the quarterfinals in this Coca-Cola 10-pin classic. He's coming up now for the start of the 7th frame. Chasing a 5th successive strike.
Oh. We'll take it.
Wow.
Yep.
Got away with that one. So it looked to me, Carl probably looked like he drifted a little bit too far left there and didn't quite get the ball out, but he's got the carry.
Pulled it inside target. He's currently looking at a 279 pace if he can manage to strike out. I think that brings his average up to about 260 for the TV finals.
Scott Sadler would love a strike.
That's a very, very wide shot.
Yeah, so
He'll come back from that, though.
So perhaps something with the heat, perspiration here.
The heat may have played a factor. He is playing an extremely outside line. You can see just there the ball really, once it took off towards the edge, it really didn't have any chance of getting back. He's got to put that behind him now. He's still not out of it. Managed to knock these 10 over in the second shot, and you can get a spare for this frame.
Come on.
And he does just that. So there's something about the character of 21-year-old Scott Sadler. Very talented player. So as we go into the 8th frame, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, the very important area of the game. It's crucial now.
I just wonder if Carl has the advantage here of the TV experience that he's actually gained coming into this match.
Well, you're probably right, Sue, because this is our first look at Scott, who's been our #1 seed for the Coca-Cola 10-pin Classic. Carl has had a couple of matches under his belt. He knows how to play these lanes, and he's doing that well today.
And basically, if there was any nerves to get rid of, Carl has certainly already gotten over those at the moment.
Well, he gave it a go.
Yep, had a shot, left an open frame, so not a happy game, I guess, just not at the stage.
He'll be a little bit disappointed, but by all means, I mean, we've got to remember Carl is still shooting at a 279 pace if he can manage to strike out, and that would equal...
one pin better, I think. 278 he'd shot in the previous
exactly,
match.
Yeah. 278.
Carl Bottomley, start of the 8th frame. Well, never looked like missing, and that's the way he's been playing throughout this tournament.
And that makes 6 in a row for Carl from Queensland.
Take a short break and be back very soon. To start the all-important 9th frame, he has 6 successive strikes, chasing a 7th. He's really put some space between himself and Scott Sadler.
Come on.
Oh, a little bit high.
It's there. It's there.
That's driving another nail home.
He was happy with that one.
You know, Sue, what's amazing about the way that Carl is bowling today is that he's doing it so easy.
It is. Everything's just falling into place. He knew that shot was high, and he was happy to get away with that. Let's see what Scott can come back with here. Oh, again, good shot there from Scott. Just a little bit unfortunate, I felt, not to carry that 10 pin then.
Scott Sadler has 4 perfect games to his credit. And I guess one of the golden-haired boys of Australian bowling. Let's watch him close out for the spare, which he does very nicely. Thank you very much. Scott's about to start the 10th frame, his last frame. And he trails Carl Bottomley quite considerably. That's
great shot.
That's,
yes, he knows the pressure's off. He can't win from here, but that's still a fine shot for Scott.
So we've really seen an exhibition again from Carl Bottomley. His best was in one of the earlier games. He had 7 successive strikes. He's matched that already, so...
That's a great shot.
Well, Scott's now stringing a couple together.
I mean, and Glenn, it is such a shame. I mean, Scott has averaged well in excess of 230 for this qualifying tournament to make these finals. It must be really disheartening for him to come out. He's going to finish with a possible 174 game if he can manage a strike in this shot. He's a much better bowler than that, and I'm sure he'll be disappointed with that finish.
Well, that's true, Sue. You're right. But the nature of the Coke Classic, it's a one-game elimination. If you don't win, then you're out.
Well, that's exactly right. That's the cutthroat business of it. And we're coming back now. We've got Carl in the 10th frame, and we're really hoping that he can get 3 strikes in a row here and finish with a 279. That'd just get everybody going here.
Tournament high score, that would be, if he can achieve it. In a row for Carl Bottomley.
Yeah, Carl looked a little bit uncertain on that one. But hey, it doesn't matter. Another fine shot.
Come on. Come on.
A little bit too slow.
Yeah.
Superb effort from Carl Bottomley from Queensland.
1 ball left. But, this game is well and truly in Carl's keeping. Very proud of his performances thus far. And, well, he doesn't close it out, but I don't think he really cares, because that is a very commanding win for Carl Bottomley. 266 his score. Scott Sadler, 174. Comprehensive win, Carl Bottomley into the semi-finals of the Coke Classic.
Well, what can we say about this young man? Carl Bottomley, yet again, another big game and another big string of strikes. How do you feel about that one?
Feel very good to get past Scott. He's just been sensational this week, and I don't think the score truly indicates how close the game was.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think it's easier for you having to come through many matches rather than being seated at the top like Scott was?
I'm sure it is. I've had a chance to be out there. I know what it feels like. I know what the heat factor is going to be like. Scott's had to wait around for all this time to actually have this one game, and it does play on your mind.
Well, congratulations. Now you're into the other semi-final, and that will be against another man who's fought his way through the field, Victoria's Warren Stewart. How do you see that one coming up?
Warren and I have had a lot of matches, and we're both about 50-50, so it's going to be a close match. I know he's bowling well. I feel good, so I'm looking forward to it.
Look at that score there from Carl. Another huge score. He's going to be hard to stop here. What an average.
It's a standout performance from Carl Bottomley from Queensland, Bill. So far, would you believe he's upped his tournament average to 257 for his appearance so far. It's just wonderful. And, of course, he moves on again to another stage.
He's into the semis next week, the first of those, and who'll be got in that game?
Well, in that we see Queensland's Michael Little, and he'll be taking on Frank Ryan from Melbourne, and that'll be another tight one. Both of them are bowling well. They have similar styles. We'll see what happens next week.
Okay, we're getting very close to the end of the Coca-Cola Tenpin Classic. Make sure you stick with us next week as we get into the semi